right, and we are live. Hello, everybody. My name is Adda, and if we haven't met before, it's so nice to meet you. I'm the founder and CEO of Skillcrush, and I'm coming to you live from Queens, New York, which I know if you shared prominently, you turned one of the webinar or workshop invitations into a love letter to my beloved New York. So let me know if you can hear me. Okay, Katie says hi, so that's a good sign. Thank you all so much for coming and joining me on this Thursday afternoon. I'm going to go ahead and queue up my slideshow, although I can tell you this is not going to be, we're going to spend very little time in the slides, but I won't get ahead of myself. Okay. All right. How is everyone doing today? Okay, good. Katie can hear me just fine. Okay, cool. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Minnesota, I love that. I used to listen to The Current all the time, which is a Minneapolis radio station. And it was just, I was actually talking about it this morning that I used to always know what the weather was like in Minnesota, which was funny. Always cold. Impressed me with how cold it was. All right, so welcome everyone to this workshop. I'm trying to be very deliberate about calling it a workshop for reasons that'll, I think, become obvious to everybody shortly. But so this workshop is titled What the F? Let me not curse. Tech Layoffs, a workshop on navigating the ups and downs of any job market. So first, before I get into all that fun stuff, I just want to make sure that you all know what Skillcrush is, what it is we do, and why you're here. So we are an online tech education company for career changers. And so what we do, we have a singular goal, which is to train our students for new jobs in tech and help them get hired. But one of the most important principles or values of our company is that we really believe in this idea that tech is for everyone. And I know on its face, that probably sounds like a reasonably straightforward statement, but as you no doubt are aware, tech traditionally has been an area where it's dominated by a certain group, namely white men. And there's been relatively little representation from women, people of color. Also, I will say from, people of all ages. And this is really important to us. And this is fundamentally what we're all about in terms of our mission as a company is trying to increase the equitability, diversity, and justice of the tech community by helping underrepresented talent get high-paying and fulfilling jobs in tech. And if you are familiar with my story, I first transitioned into tech after being laid off, in fact. And I had been working in and around tech in sort of non-technical positions. And when I made that transition, first of all, I will say it took getting laid off to really push me to take the risk, which we can talk about. We're going to talk more about risk taking and sort of what motivates us in that regard later in this workshop. But fundamentally, I suffered from low confidence for a really long time. I had wanted to learn technical skills. I had wanted to become a technical worker. I knew that was the right choice for me, but I had been really afraid to do it. And I think in large part, I was afraid to do it because when I looked at who was working at tech, when I looked at, in college, when I looked at the computer science department, right, it didn't seem like a place for me. Yes, I loved the internet. I loved blogging. I was so excited about all these possibilities of what was happening. But computer science felt completely separate and divorced from that. Coding felt like completely separate and divorced from that. And I didn't see people like me doing it. I certainly didn't see a lot of women, but I also really didn't see creative types, people who were interested in, issues of social justice, that kind of thing. And so all of that contributed to a sense of low confidence for me, where I really was not sure that I could learn these skills, that I had what it takes, that I was going to fit in, that it was going to work out for me. And then it really was a matter of me being sort of having my back against a wall and having nothing to lose, proverbially speaking, that actually pushed me to learn the skill. Anyways, fast forward, I became a tech worker. It was amazing. I met lots of interesting people. I got amazing job opportunities. I couldn't, beyond my wildest imagination at that point in time. All these things were going really well, but there were still not a lot of people like me. Anyways, so I just give you all this background to sort of help you to understand, why it is that we're so focused on this value of tech is for everyone. We are looking to be the change that we want to see in the world here at Skillcrush. And just also, I want you to know that if you, have had any of these experiences that I've had and those feelings that I had, that I see you, I hear you, I feel you. I too have been there. And, I just want you to know that, I want you to bring your whole selves to Skillcrush fundamentally. Okay. So something that we're really proud of is our student outcome stats. So, we recently, as of October of last year, we, added on this whole Get Hired part of our program, which now also allows us to offer all of our students a job guarantee. And we are really, really proud that over 95% of our students have gotten job offers within 6 months of graduating who have done the Get Hired program. Their average starting salary, it has been $70,000. And for, although obviously there is variance, we've had salaries as high as $150,000. But in general, on average, the salary increase that each student has gotten is about $30,000. And what is also amazing is that the average time to get a job has only been 10 weeks. So, we do support our students for the full 6 months after, or like for a full 6 months of job searching. But on average, it's been significantly less time than 6 months that the average student gets a job. And then finally, into the what I was speaking to earlier, we're really proud that 80% of our students identify as women, 40% as Black, Indigenous people of color, and over 54% are over the age of 35. And I just want to remind you that age is also an element of diversity that is often overlooked and not talked about. So it's super, age diversity is really, really important in every place, but also especially in tech. Okay. So what are we going to be talking about in this workshop? We're going to talk about what is really going on with the economy to the extent that we can tell. I can see a theme here. We're going to talk about what it all means for the future of tech jobs, to the extent that we can tell. And we're going to talk about how you should interpret this data for your own career decision-making. Okay, who this workshop is for. So it's for anyone who is thinking about making a career change into tech. It's for anyone who's actively pursuing a full-time job in tech. It's for anyone who's got the fear about making a career change, more on that to come. And it's also for current Skillcrush students who are excited for what 2023 and beyond can bring. And I see you guys are blowing up the chat, which I love. And actually, I was going to encourage you to do that, but it looks like I don't even need to because you're doing it already. And I see also that you are asking some questions, so that's awesome. Okay, cool. And please feel free to continue to ask questions in the Ask a Question module. So I don't need to explain to you how all that works. Okay. So I just want to give you a warning, though. Now is your last chance to get off the bus. I mean, that's not true. You guys can obviously do whatever you want. But this is a workshop, so it's not going to be a traditional webinar where I sort of show a lot of slides and talk through a lot of things. It really is going to be heavy audience participation. And I have done this before, so some of you may have experienced this before. But I'm going to be asking each and every one of you to participate in this process. So I'm excited to hear from you all as we go through this thing. But yes, my role here is facilitator, and it's we're gonna have a good time. Okay. So to that end, in the spirit of audience participation, we're gonna start with an easy one, and I'm gonna ask you guys to tell me in the chat, where are you in the sort of process of changing a job or changing your career? So and you can use an emoji to tell me what it is. I'm going to give you 3 options, but also feel free to improvise and editorialize. So I would love to see what you come up with. So drop a panda if you're still in the process of researching options, contemplating a career change. Drop in a lion if you're actively pursuing a career change. So you're learning new skills, you're networking, you're doing all that stuff. Yes. Lindsay, for now, we are participating in chat, but there will be other options for participation. And if you are a current Skillcrush student, we also definitely want to hear from you. And drop a unicorn in the chat. All right, I'm seeing unicorns and lions. Awesome. Oh, I see a panda. Fantastic. All right. I see a panda and a unicorn. Okay, great. Yeah, we're probably all sort of pandas. Maureen is a question mark. That's fine. That's legit. Ooh, Laura is working to finish her portfolio. That's super exciting, Laura. That means you're at the end of the program before the get hired part. All right. Cool. Well, first of all, I just want to congratulate you all on doing a phenomenal job of participating. Maureen, are you able to see the slides that explain the lion and the unicorns? Cool. Yes. Okay. Awesome. Christy is also finishing her portfolio. All right, we got to get let's get her done Slack channel going. Paolo is finishing the UI UX track. Stacey's in the Get Hired program. Phenomenal. Okay, cool. Okay, so we've got a wide range, which is wonderful. All right. Okay, so now since you guys did such a good job in that process, we are going to knock it up a notch. And so this is going to be our first serious audience participation. I mean, you guys already did an amazing job, but we're going to knock it up and go up to an actual collaborative drawing. And what I want you all to do is I want you to take a Post-it and answer this question in the Post-it. And then what's going to happen is I'm going to read what you're saying. We're going to talk about it, and then we'll move on from there. So I'm going to give you all the link. It should work for anyone. If it doesn't work for you, let me know. Yeah, and so the first question I want to ask is, what is your career goal? So, a lot of you are already in the position of making a career change, so you're actively pursuing it. But so what career change are you working towards? And, the more detail here that you can give, the better. Okay, and I will make this, I'll try to make this even bigger so that we can participate. Okay. Yeah, and I would love to hear from you. Do you have a specific role that you're trying to look for? Is there a certain type of working condition you're trying to achieve? Is there an industry that you want to work in, etc.? All right, so I'm seeing make more money, become a full stack developer, add skills to my existing DAM skills, increase earning ability. I'm like, is that like I don't know what DAM stands for, the digital something marketing. That's what comes to mind for me, but I'm not totally familiar with that acronym. Front-end web developer. Eventually, I'd like to learn full stack and even break into cloud computing. Front-end dev using React. Website development. Background in marketing. Okay, I feel like something froze. Uh-oh. And we're back. Okay, phew. Did I freeze for a second for everybody? Because it froze. Whoa, someone has a really big goal. Digital asset management. Okay, that makes perfect sense. Freelance and grow a business. Become a full-time UX designer. Okay, I see. My career goal is to land a full-time remote UI UX position. Full stack developer and job with great work-life balance. I'm 67 and don't need to make a huge salary. Full stack add ArcGIS background, remote, add to my ArcGIS background. That's awesome. I am familiar with ArcGIS because my father uses it for a lot of the math he does. Remote role, making the same or more than current $90,000 salary, doing something I don't enjoy. Yeah. Pivot into tech career, I need help deciding. Okay, these are awesome, awesome goals. Be able to bounce to a new job if I get laid off. Yeah. I'm swapping to a different tech field because of recent disability, currently enrolled in school. Okay, I'm working towards starting my career in design, and I want to have a job that allows me to design and create beautiful, interactive, functional websites. I love that. Be my own boss and incorporate my existing skills while adding tech skills. Wonderful. Oh no, Nashama, I apologize if I'm getting your name wrong, but is saying that okay, I will try to fix that for future versions. We'll try to just do like a lot more of these. Okay. All right. So I am going to, let's hit everyone finish typing. I'm going to give you 1 more minute to finish typing, and then we're going to go on to the next question. Okay. I will zoom in a little bit. Can I zoom in to like, will that work? Yeah. All right, everybody. Okay, so your minute is up. Finish what you're writing, and I'm going to move. I'm going to clear the board so that we can answer our next question, but just know that all of your answers are going to be saved. Okay. All right. I feel bad. I apologize to anyone who I just deleted their thing. Please, yeah. So here's my next question for you. Why did you choose to enter, like when you were contemplating a career change, what motivated you to get into tech? Like why tech skills versus any other option that you could have done? I'm going to do this, put these strategically. I'm going to try to be a little bit better on timing so that we can make sure to participate in all this. All right, so I feel that tech skills are more desirable in today's job market. Everything seems to be going towards tech. Career longevity is something I enjoy. Why not? It feels exciting, and I work with so many students, so many grad students. The endless opportunities in tech, a growing industry. I wanted to have a role that I had clarity. I love tech. I find tech very interesting. My friend was happy making the transition from hospitality to tech. That's awesome. I choose tech because I've always had a kinship with tech. I always loved computers and digital art, and I feel like the future is going in the direction in every industry. Okay. Yeah, so I feel like there's some themes here. It's like you see that people are doing well in tech, the people that you know who have transitioned. You like it, is what I'm hearing, which is the best possible answer, right? Is that it seems enjoyable. It's something that you enjoy. It's something that you have fun with. And you believe that there is a lot of opportunity. And it can provide, flexibility and things like that. Awesome. Okay. Creativity, flexibility, and salary. Sure. It's like the Holy Trinity, right? Amazing. I've enjoyed working in tech since I was young. I'm 48. I love that. Okay. Awesome. Okay. 1 more minute, and then we're clearing this one to show my girls that women can do it. I love that. I will be showing my boys. I got, that was how things worked out for me, but I will be showing them that women can, in fact, do it. Okay, very nice. Okay, all right. 30 seconds. The movie Hackers. I love that. I know. It's so funny. Carolyn says that after 20 years as a stay-at-home mom, 4-year degree that doesn't have any skills, so excited but nervous. Yeah. That's an okay place to be. Okay. Cut. All right. We are going to the next one. Okay. Next question is, if you achieved your goal, how would you feel? So you have a goal of making a career change. How do you think you would feel if you were able to achieve that goal? Ecstatic, elated. I'd feel less stressed about money, liberated, energized. I'd feel relieved. I would feel amazing and capable and like $1 million. Really good, since I've been looking for UX design without knowing what it was for years. Yes, I totally understand that. I feel like when I learned what UX design was, it was such a revelation. I'm so proud, accomplished. Freedom. Oh, I can't wait. I'm 30% through React, and I would be so happy. At peace, free. Yes, I would feel wonderful overcoming such a huge fear in middle age. Definitely liberated. Yes. Yes. So proud, relieved, all the good stuff. Extremely proud of myself. Happy, less stressed, proud, financially free. I would be over the moon and treat myself to a new car. Excited and relieved. Accomplished, top of the world. I would feel happier and calmer about life, less stressed about money. I might be able to plan for retirement, more confident in life and the job market. I would feel finally. I love these. These are amazing. I'm feeling so happy just reading them. Okay, you guys have me excited. Okay, cool. All right, we're going to do one more minute and then we're going to go to the next question. Yes, I love how many of you said elated. That's really beautiful. I think somebody is energized. I know. Caroline, me too. All these answers are making me tear up too. I love it. So motivating. Okay. You guys are like it's like better than a shot of espresso. Okay. I'd probably cry for a second and then jump for joy. I love it. Okay, cool. Okay. Finish up your writing and then we're going to go to the next question. Okay. Hold on one second. Okay. So now that we've talked about all this awesome stuff, let's talk about some of the scarier stuff. So what do you risk by making this career change? This is something I talked about in the invitations to this workshop. Oh, let me actually give you guys Post-it notes to work off of. Do we do yellow yet? Hold on, let me see. No, I don't think we've done yellow, so we're going to do yellow. Whereas I was talking about how as human beings, we have a negativity bias, right? This is, well documented. So we tend to overestimate the risks of something, and we tend to have loss aversion, which we'll talk about a little bit more later. And so that means that, despite all this good stuff that we've been talking about over the last couple of minutes, the truth is that when most of us are faced with trying to make a big change, really go after something, we're actually really tend to be like very, very focused on the potential, sort of our fears and the risks of what we're doing. So let's talk about what the risks are. Okay, so we risk comfort. It's a really good one. Yes. And what does that mean? Comfort in what way? What comfort are we risking? Is that comfort in our current job? We're comfortable. We're not sort of pushing ourselves. We risk feeling like a fish out of water. Yeah. Ending up in a new environment. We risk not getting hired for many months and having to support my family on unemployment. Yep. At this point, I risk absolutely nothing. Hey, that's a great place to be in. Right? Risk of wasting my 4 years in mechanical engineering studies without having a job in that field. Wasted time and effort. Yeah. Right? Nobody likes to put a lot of time and effort into something and, not have a return for that. No money in returning to a job that I hate. So it's right. It's like, okay, if I pursue something and it doesn't work out and I have to go back to where I was, granted, like maybe your position hasn't literally changed, but emotionally that's a bummer, right? Like nobody wants that. Risking my self-esteem if I'm not good enough, failing. The risk is an illusion. Okay, so the person who's writing a risk is an illusion. Tell us more about that. What do you mean by that? I risk losing a stable healthcare job, afraid to fail, wasted years in school doing what I know. Leaving a job that I've been in for over a decade, job security. So that like the thinking here is, I lose, like you would get a new job that is and then in the process of getting that new job, you would leave a stable job. That's my interpretation of what that means. Risk time spent dedicated to learning. Okay, so the person who is saying that the risk is illusion is saying it's already a risk to not go for it. Okay, that's a really interesting idea. So there's risk in not doing it, is what you're saying. It's always in the back of my mind, what if I fail, or what if it's impossible to find a good job afterwards? So missed opportunity elsewhere, not job searching as much while I'm studying. So this one says nothing. I was recently laid off, so there's not a lot not to fear or risk, just fear itself. Yes. I've certainly been in that position. And, obviously, like nobody wants to get laid off and nobody wants to be unemployed, but it's true. It does really, it's that like loss aversion thing, right? Where when you're like, well, I don't really have anything to lose here. I've got lots of time and I have no job. So I'm going to try to, improve upon this not so very good situation. That makes total sense. So that feeling that you get, A is saying yet another job direction not working out for me. Yeah. And that's a bummer, right? Like nobody wants to try something and have it not work out. Period. End of story. Right? Like that's disappointing. Probably nothing. I've been a stay-at-home mom for 7 years, re-entering the job force. I'm afraid of rejection. I guess that is probably the biggest risk. Yeah. And the thing is, the feeling of rejection is very uncomfortable, even though it is also, I will tell you, like a reality of job searching. Like, I don't know anyone who has job searched and not gotten rejected at least once. But of course it's uncomfortable. Prolonged job search during this economy while transitioning to tech. Concerned my portfolio isn't good enough for interview. Absolutely nothing. I can only look forward. I'm excited to be making a massive change in my life. That it is too late for me. So I guess, yeah. Okay. Nothing is a waste of time could lead to where you are supposed to be. Well, that is a beautiful, and I think like deeply philosophical, point that I very much appreciate. So Lindsay saying it's nice to not feel alone in my fears. You are not alone in your fears. So yeah. Okay, I'm going to give you all one more minute. Johnny's asking, is this essentially the sticky notes app that we make at the end of React? It's funny. This is literally a Google drawing, but next time maybe I will use the sticky notes app that we make in React class just to really eat our own dog food as it was. Bonnie's saying, I figured out that I've had contradicting fears of both failure and success all my life, but the fear of success has been greater and held me back far more than any other fear. Isn't that fascinating? And I think there's probably so many of us that have those things. And this is, okay, phenomenal. I risk initial intimidation having to interact with tech bros. I risk 6 months and $2,000 if I don't trust the system and use my time wisely to get the most out of this opportunity. I have more to gain than lose at this point. Yeah. Okay, awesome. Okay, so I'm going to thank you so much for doing this. We're answering this question in all of your honesty and vulnerability. I'm going to delete this. Okay, so before I'm going to talk about all the before I have a chance to soapbox a little bit, let's just have a real quick discussion about the tech layoffs. So there's been news of a lot of tech layoffs, and I am going to share with you all, sort of what the data is saying, so we can have like a little bit of a, just a reality check, I guess, on our own sort of, worst case scenario. But I think what I would love to hear from you before I give you that perspective is kind of, where's your head at with the tech layoffs? What is it making you think? What fears is this bringing up for you? Is this a concern? Is this not a concern? Okay. So I see that people are saying that the market is oversaturated and that there are not enough openings. I don't see junior jobs available. And I believe the laid off people, I shouldn't keep reading people's stuff before they finish them. Honestly, I try not to focus on it, but the availability of jobs, that I won't be able to break into the tech UX design industry. Thinking that I might get more and more, someone's post-it got very large and it covered up a post-it I was trying to read. No fears, but hopes that the news will keep those that may not be serious about tech careers. It happened again to me. Thinking that it might get more and more competitive since everyone is transitioning to tech. More competition for jobs from people with a lot more experience makes me feel that I'm late to the party. I didn't make it on time to be able to have a successful career in tech. I think that is like such an interesting one. And that really resonates with me. I appreciate whoever wrote that. A little scary, but you can get laid off anywhere. With new skills, you have more chances to earn. So it still feels like this is the right way to go. Scary hearing about layoffs and no fears. The talent pool is significantly increased with experienced tech workers. I don't trust the news. It will take a long time. That the competition will be fierce with all the experienced tech workers now looking for work. And a newbie like me, I won't stand a chance to get a job. I fear there's no longer any point in making this career change and that I should just go back to what I know, teaching ESL. Companies will only be hiring for more experience than I have, may bring down salary options. I will go months without finding a job after graduating, that after I finish the program, there won't be as many opportunities for me getting a job. The talent pool is, I think I read that one already, not able to find work, need a good job to pay off some debt, also worried about competition for junior jobs. Not too concerned since media coverage centers are in big tech companies. Working for a private company can be tricky. I'm worried that when I finally complete the course, there will be no jobs. No career path is safe from layoffs anymore. Honestly, I try not to focus on it. I won't be able to break into the UX design. Okay. Thinking that I might get more and more competitive since everyone's transitioning to tech. I'll have to make another career change in order to get a job. Lack of job opportunities since employers will put off hiring for decades. I guess not being confident enough in getting the sack. A lot of places seem to post ads for juniors with 3 years experience or front end, but want back-end languages like C++ or Python. I fear that as soon as landing a job, because I will be coming from a bootcamp course that I may be the first to let go. Priority, who have invested or not backed by a degree. Competitive, I don't stand out. Grew up believing I needed to work twice as hard to get half as far. I'm hearing that juniors are more affected. I feel like people at FANG are kind of dumb, but there are smaller, less well-known companies that still need people. Okay. Someone here is saying, I'm not afraid. Good. Okay, being laid off for a long period of time. You can never prepare for a layoff, but I've been laid off twice before, so concerned of getting laid off again. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much for sharing this. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what is going on with tech stuff. Okay, so tech employment by the numbers. So let me just preface everything I'm going to say by saying that, one of the biggest challenges in anything, I mean, really in the world, but especially when it comes to markets and employment and all that stuff, is that we don't have a crystal ball, right? I think I made a joke about this in the invitation that said, just ask Jerome Powell how he feels, right? And so we're all left kind of reading the tea leaves and trying to understand what is going on from a macroeconomic standpoint and how we can use that information to make, material decisions about our own lives. So from a macro standpoint, this is what some of the data points are, and then we can talk about analyzing it. So there have been these number of layoffs. I think it was sorry, off the top of my head, it's like hard to remember the exact numbers, but I think we're talking in under 100,000 jobs total, but in the tens of thousands. And, feel free to correct me if you have the exact number at hand. And what was interesting is that, there were layoffs and it wasn't really, it wasn't actually doing a contraction. So meaning that there were not overall less jobs available until I believe it was either, it might be the month of February. So there was 27 months of consecutive job growth in tech, meaning that tech jobs just went up and up and up and up and up and up. And this last month, for the first time, the total number of available tech jobs went down. Yet, what is interesting, though, about that is that despite the layoffs and despite this contraction in jobs, the unemployment rate actually, though, also went down. So it hit a new low of 1.8%. I think there's one other time 10 years ago or something where it was that low. And the average salary of a tech worker actually increased. So there were layoffs. Jobs started to come down for the first time in 27 months, total number of jobs. And yet the unemployment rate also went down and the average salary increased. So the question is, how is that mathematically possible? What this means is that despite the decline in total jobs, there are still far more jobs that are available than there are qualified workers. Or this is the explanation that I have read. So basically, yes, people got laid off, but because there were a lot of open jobs available, they got reabsorbed very quickly. And then also, ultimately this percentage of people who is being laid off, or these people, they only are a percentage of the entire labor force in both technology industry and technical workers outside the technology industry. And there are huge macroeconomic things that are always at play in terms of movement of people and things like that. And so net, despite a decline in overall jobs, and despite all of these layoffs, the net was that the unemployment, so the total number of people who were actually unemployed, yet decreased. So something that's interesting to look at is this goes January of 2014 to July of 2022. And I'm sorry that it's blurry. I have no idea why it's blurry. But this is looking at tech occupation unemployment rate trending. And I actually have it all the way pulled through to January of this year. So what this graph is basically showing is that the tech unemployment rate has been lower than the national rate, steadily since 2014. And in fact, at some points, it has been significantly lower. So, right, like if you look at 2014, the tech unemployment rate was somewhere between 2 and 3%, while the unemployment rate for the national unemployment rate was around 7%. And then, of course, in COVID, that's what that spike is. And you saw a little bit of a spike. The other thing that's important to see here is that there's fluctuations, right? So it's not a steady curve. There's always movement happening in the market. And then this is it pulled out. Sorry, you could kind of overlap these two maps, but you'll notice that here, the unemployment rate nationally actually went up a little bit in January, but in tech, it went down. The other thing that I think is really interesting, though, to look at also is the tech workforce. So basically, the tech workforce has been growing, year over year steadily since 2001. And the rate, the share of total employment in the economy has been increasing, has sort of started to accelerate in terms of, so basically what that's saying is that the percentage of workers in the economy who are technical workers has started to become a bigger and bigger percentage. And I thought this was really interesting because it definitely felt like this was happening fast when I started working in tech. And I really resonated with those questions of feeling like, is it too late for me? Like, I definitely felt that, that was a fear I had, was I too late? And that's funny to think now because I'm like, no, it definitely wasn't too late. But I think that, that's a fear that, everyone's going to have to a certain extent. I just want to catch up on some of the chats. Juliana saying things change quickly in the world now, especially in tech. A says, I do feel very late to the party and I will be going against workers with years of experience. Bonnie says, I do worry that most positions want senior level developers. It's hard to find a chance at entry level. How can we talk more about that today? Yeah, and I will say that Gunther is saying with all the IT people graduating places like India, you think there would be far more workers than jobs. You would think that. Isn't that interesting? I will say with regards to this question about how about the more positions in senior level developers, this is something that we work with a lot with our students and Get Hired. And you are right in that it tends to like if you look at sort of standard tech job boards, there tend to be more mid to senior level positions available. And basically, we have a lot of different tactics that we encourage our students to deploy in order to figure that out. So there's a lot of different things that you can do. And I'm happy to answer that, to give you some sense of those things. So, a big thing that, a couple of things. So first of all, it's look for work in unexpected places. So I think someone said this before, but there have been tech jobs everything is going technology, right? So a lot of opportunity for entry-level employees is in at companies or in industries that wouldn't necessarily traditionally be considered technical, but yet absolutely are technical and are looking for fresh talent. My local grocery store has an app. Exactly. My mechanic now has a site. The hair salon now has an app. Exactly. And so, it's not to say that most hair salons are going to hire someone full time, but to your point, there's going to be an app that the hair salon needs to use. And then there's going to be a company that runs that app that's going to need developers. We've had a lot of students get jobs in the government, in nonprofit sectors, and digital marketing agencies are often a really good place. So it's really just about sort of thinking through strategically, with the help of a career coach around where to look for work. And then there's just the reality of like a lot of jobs that are available are not listed. And so how do you figure that out? And that is definitely a head scratcher and it's not easy, but it is absolutely possible to find those jobs. And, and I was going to say, the reality is that all jobs have the potential to fluctuate with economic changes. And the other reality is that, we don't know. Will there be 27 straight months of tech job contraction after this? Listen, if I guess I am in a position to bet, and my bet is no, right? Like there's really no indicator that that's going to be the case. I think what we're seeing is that it has been growing really, really fast, and what we're seeing is that the growth rate has slowed. But a slowdown in growth rate is not a overall contraction. So that is really important to keep in mind. But the other reality is that it's true. Like, you are in danger of getting laid off in any position, in any job. And so I think the question that I have for you is, given that reality of risk, let's talk about that. Like, okay, the reality is that sorry, apologies. I'm gonna copy this, move it over so that we can, and I want us to do a collective. We're gonna brainstorm some ideas. Given that we are all always in the position of a certain amount of vulnerability to layoffs and market conditions and pandemics and what have you, I'm going to change the color of this. Please give me 1 second. We're going to go with, what have we not done? Green? Do we do green? Let's go with green. What is a career changer, or what is, like a person who needs to work for a living to do? Yes, green for money. Yeah, it's fitting. While you guys are feeling sad, I'll answer a couple questions. So one is from Jillian here. So it says, in this current climate, are there still many opportunities to work solely remotely without restriction on location? Are there opportunities available for those new and interesting? Yes, I was actually reading data this today from Indeed that was showing that it was something like, I think it was like between 50 and 60% of software developers currently work remote. And then there was like, let's see, how did the math? It was 14% that work only in person. So that middle group between the 14 and 50, whatever, was people who work hybrid. So, all data would point to the fact that overwhelmingly the opportunities are flexible, and there are a lot of remote opportunities. That said, without any restrictions on location, an unfortunate, I think, side effect of so many people going remote is that has caused some more analysis around where you are. But I don't know what you're thinking in terms of flexibility of location, but I will say that internationally, like traveling internationally, or like trying to work internationally, this is really about, sorry, I should give the caveat. This is not about people who live in another country and whether they can work in the US. That is a different situation. If we're talking about, like, for example, if you were an American worker and you wanted to work for an American company, but you wanted to do it from Spain, that is a different scenario now, and is subject to more regulation than it used to be. That used to definitely just fly under the radar, but that's not as common anymore. But otherwise, the data suggests that the majority of jobs are remote and flexible. Okay, let's see what else. Katie is asking, what do you say to those who say that since the projects are the same for everyone, that decreases their value within a portfolio? Everyone has the same projects in their portfolio. So I think that the dynamics of this are different, whether it's a designer or a developer student. I will say that. And I will say that in general, sort of the same project feeling is less of an issue for developers, which is good news ultimately, because development is more of a there is a fair amount of sort of vetting your skill set that is really just a matter of can you do it or not. It's like a pass fail, right? It's not like a graded test. I don't know if that's a good analogy, but it's sort of like the employer is kind of looking at your portfolio and they just want to see, can they code? Right. And so therefore, like the fact that you are doing the same coding project as like, every other person, that actually ends up being kind of like, that can be a good thing because then they're comparing apples to apples. So I do think this sort of same project thing can be more challenging for designers because design is so about sort of like, can be so much about sort of your personal design aesthetic, what you are uniquely bringing to the table. So that can be a little bit more challenging. That said, there's two really, off the top ways to combat these issues. One is that the portfolio itself is a great opportunity for you to demonstrate, distinguish yourself. And the other thing is that we would always encourage you to have your own projects that you contribute to your portfolio. And so those can take a lot of different forms. Those can be on the like one end, they can be paid freelance projects that you do for other people. That is an amazing thing for you to put in there. And that's going to be uniquely your own. But honestly, like it could be open source projects. And also it can just be personal projects that you like dream up yourself and build. And all of those will give you the opportunity to demonstrate skills that you uniquely have, perspective that you uniquely have, who you are, help communicate who you are as a person, what you bring to the table, all of that. All right. I hope that was helpful. So Gunther's asking, on the last webinar Starting Fresh, there was a discussion about all the portfolio projects and whether there's school assignments. And the answer is yes, 100%. And actually that was Katie's concern, is that there's so many school assignments. So are the 95% getting their jobs in tech? I think, Jack, this is a great question, but I think I would say, well, it depends on how you define tech. So if your definition of tech is like FANG, so like Facebook, Amazon, what does it stand for? Apple, Netflix, and Google, then no. It's, like I would say that no, the 95% are definitely not all getting jobs at sort of like very, big techie type of companies. They're getting jobs at a huge variety of different companies of all different shapes and sizes. So we definitely have students who get jobs at Indeed, for example. You might be familiar with Indeed, or Walmart Global, their tech team. But we also have a lot of students who go into government jobs, really interesting, cool, innovative tech jobs in the government, who work at small and medium-sized businesses of all types. We have someone working at Crocs right now, that kind of thing. Okay. I would like to look at your guys' answers to the question, which is, what do you do given that you can always be laid off, right? Because the truth is that we can only control what we can control. And what we can control with regards to macroeconomic economic trends is very little, unfortunately, much to my frustration, often. So let's see I say never stop learning. Love that. I think, we never stop learning whether we like it or not. So better to embrace it. Have a monetary backup and network, have a backup plan, self-care, keep your skills up to date, keep adding skills. I heard that if your job remains the same for 5 years, it becomes more and more likely that you'll be fired because they can hire a new person for less. I actually think that's a really, really, I hadn't heard it phrased in that way, but I think that's actually a really, really good point. And that was something that I was going to say too, I know this actually wasn't brought up here, but a lot of people sort of, will ask questions like, well, there's AI now and these no code things. And, like the tech world, then the skills and the trends and stuff are always evolving and changing. And the reality there is that it's absolutely true that the skills that you learned, like for example, if you enroll in Skillcrush and you enroll in them, learning skills today, those skills are not going to be the exact skills that you're going to be using 5 years from now, 10 years from now. I don't think they'll all be gone, but that is a reality of working in tech, is that, trends and technologies change really, really rapidly. And I don't think that has to be a bad thing. I think that could be a fun thing, right? Or an exciting part of it, but it's definitely what keeps it interesting. But that is a reality that everyone needs to be prepared for. Okay, make sure that I keep my skills and resume up to date. Always keep an eye out for new positions. Keep pressing on, knowing what the skills I'm learning are transferable. Continuous learning to stay sharp in the field and with transferable skills. Keep working towards your goal. Take this opportunity to increase skills and do more of your side work. Educating yourself always. Stay up to date with your skills. I am retired with a government pension and IRA account, so I don't have to worry about meeting my basic needs. I still need to learn new skills so I don't go brain rot. I continue to hone my skills and mostly live. Make sure I'm having a balance, no regrets. Yeah. And I will say for myself, part of the reason when I first learned how to code, it was honestly to start making money like immediately. And it also allowed me to make money in terms of like full-time employment that was well paid. But even when I started, not until I started Skillcrush, and actually that's not true. For the first couple of years of working at Skillcrush, I worked at Skillcrush and Moonlit and other roles. But fundamentally, like I think having multiple income streams is always a good idea, and that's always something that is available to you when you are in technology. Juliana saying, I'm concerned about the lack of structure for passion projects. I'd like to do one or many, but I don't know what to include or not include without direction. How do we know what to look for in a passion project? Yeah, I think so. To start off with, I would say I wouldn't hold back. Like I think that if your passion project utilizes the skills that you have learned at Skillcrush, then you should just go for it and see it through to its end. The value of doing a project, any project, is partially the technical skill that you employ in order to do it. But there's actually a lot more to the equation than that. And part of what is valuable with any project that you do is just going through the full life cycle of a project. So starting it, having the idea of it, and then figuring out how to put it together from a technical perspective or whatever perspective that you need, doing that work, seeing the ways in which things come up that you didn't anticipate, adjusting your plans for that, and then continuing on until you have a finished product, even if that finished product is very different than what you had set out to make in the get-go. Like that process is such a critical part of the process of working, because what happens when you are working is that you have a thing you have to do. So whether it is, like a new site launch, or you have to build an app, or what have you, right? And there's always what you think you're doing when you set out. And then there's all the things that you learn along the way and all the ways in which you have to adjust things. And then you'll have some sort of business reality of a deadline or a budget that you have to meet or what have you. And then you're going to have to make a whole bunch of trade-offs in that process. And this is all the stuff, like technical skills are important 100%. You have to have technical skills to participate, to even like sort of pass go. But then what's going to be really material for you as an employee, and what an employer wants to understand and really gauge when they are hiring you, is like, how do you deal with all of those realities, right? How do you deal with you have limited times or competing demands, or you can't get this one thing to work the way you expected it to, et cetera. And just the practice of doing a passion project, no matter what it is going to give you all the experiences. It's going to get you sort of all the, like, you'll get through that whole life cycle, even if it's like the simplest thing. So yeah, I hope that's helpful. We are at time. Okay, this is awesome. Thank you so much for coming and participating in this workshop. I hope you got something out of it. I hope that it allayed some of your fears. And just also, again, like, we are such big believers here at Skillcrush in the power of community and the power of coming together and talking through things, and, figuring out how to live with, the uncertainty that we all just unfortunately have to live with, but at the same time, that, staying motivated and just remembering that everything is a learning experience. obviously nobody wants to put time and effort into something and not have it work out. And I put that in quotes because I think sometimes things work out the way they're supposed to, even if it's not the way we imagine them to. And sometimes they work out beyond our wildest imaginations of how they could have worked out. So, yeah, I just really appreciate your time. I appreciate your vulnerability and your honesty. I appreciate you all for coming and being part of this community, and participating as a member of the community, and the love and, sort of just community that you have shared with your fellow skill crushers in this moment. Yeah. And I wish you all of the best. And if you ever want to get a hold of me, you can always email me at adda@skillcrush.com or at hello@skillcrush.com. Yeah. Anyways, so to more exciting, wonderful people in the tech world. And I will talk to you all later. All right. Have a good rest of your Thursday afternoon. Bye, everybody.